What's happening, guys? It's Glenn here. Welcome back to my weekly vlog series where I talk about my experiences, thoughts, and insights about being a full-time voiceover talent. So as you might have gathered from looking at the thumbnail, today's a bit of a special video for me. See, it was a year ago, last week Saturday, October 12th. It's been the 1-year anniversary since my last day at my previous job at the law firm, and the first day I left to start building my voiceover business full-time. It's so wild to think about that I've gotten to this point. Like, on the one hand, it feels like it hasn't been nearly as long as a year. But then on the other hand, I think about all the things that have happened in the last 365 days, and it's just wild to marvel at what a different position I'm in now than I was when I started on this journey. Now, I was thinking this whole week about, everything that's been going on and what I'd like to talk about. And I could make a really long video talking about all the things that has gone on the last year, but there's just a couple highlights that I want to touch on. So first off is the vast improvement that I've made in my voiceover performance. So before I started breaking off to do this full time, I had never taken a voice acting or an acting class, period, in my entire life before. Now, I'd had a vocal performance background because I'd been singing in choirs and whatnot ever since I was a kid, but I'd never taken a class or studied on, how to bring a character to life or how to take on a certain persona or, how to perform a character on stage or any of these other number of things that I've delved so much of my studies into today. Like, really, I started voiceover because ever since I was a kid, I was just good at listening to and mimicking different voices and accents, and, after a series of events, I decided to start doing something with it. Now, since I started off doing voiceover full time, I have put a lot of effort into improving my voiceover chops and getting a lot of the education that I hadn't had up until this point. So some of the first classes I took through the website Casting Call Club, where I took their 101 and their 201 voice acting class. And that was an amazing experience. I learned so many things about vocal performance that I didn't even know I didn't know. Like, it was opening up dimensions about voiceover that I didn't even realize that I would have to study in order to become proficient at this. I also took some online classes through the website Gravy for the Brain, another excellent source for voiceover, which gave a lot of other tips about how to perform, things to keep in mind for specific genres of voiceover. Gravy for the Brain also had a great stage acting class, which I was able to glean a lot of information from, even though, once again, that was just never a world I was really tuned into. But now that I'm, doing more of this acting kind of stuff, voice acting is acting. And there's a lot of the theatrical, Shakespearean sort of school of thought that applies to what I'm doing now and to, enhance my performance. In the last year, I have discovered characters and voices that I never knew or never thought that I would be performing. And some of them have even led to the biggest gigs that I'm working on right now, which is crazy to think about. Additionally, I'm also at the point where I can finally start reading long-form narration without fudging up the words every sentence or so. And that took me, the whole year just practicing reading aloud from books, and I've completed 17 audiobooks now that are up on audible.com. And once again, it's wild for me to think about how much more comfortable I am just reading something aloud compared to where I was when I first started on this. So definitely today I'm in a whole different stratosphere of voiceover performance that I was when I began, and I'm hoping to learn even more in the coming years. So next, aside from voiceover, on to the more business aspect of running my voiceover business. Really, on the business side, I think I've even grown even more than I did on the voiceover side of things. Like, right now, I think that I enjoy the idea of being my own boss and running my own business even more than I enjoy the thought of the possibility of doing voiceover for a living. For my entire adult and working life, I've been an employee. I've, been paid on an hourly wage, I've received a bi-weekly paycheck, and I've gotten my marching orders from my superiors, from administrators, bosses, supervisors, whatnot. So for me to finally branch out on my own, start my own LLC, and become my own boss and, look for my own work was such a huge paradigm shift for me. Nowadays, I don't really take my marching orders from anybody. I mean, certainly I work with clients who have instructions for how they want me to perform their work, but I get to choose which clients I work with, I get to choose who I market myself to, I get to choose the hours that I work with, and I get paid basically whenever I finish a job. And I didn't realize how much I would enjoy this style of work until I really started getting into it, and it just blew up my world in the way I think about working and how I can expand this. For the first time ever, I feel like my work it's not just a paycheck. I'm not just working for the sake of making enough money to pay the bills and, afford the luxuries that I enjoy. Every job I do, it's not just the paycheck. It's also laying a brick in this house that I'm building, or it's the next step on the stairway towards the next big gig. Like, everything I do is about building onto the business and helping me get into a better position down the road for even more business with more clients, with even more work. Like every single month, I feel like my world opens up a little bit more. And even in the last couple months, I've been starting to really explore all the different dimensions that I could be taking this business in. I've been starting to think about other aspects of voiceover to go into, such as, casting for projects or just doing the audio engineering. And then I've also been studying things like investing, both in like stocks or mutual funds, as well as real estate and renting. And then I've also spent some time looking at some other forms of side hustles, like starting a shop on Teespring to sell t-shirts, or, maybe doing some affiliate marketing sometime down the line if I can, up my social media presence a bit more. And it's just so exciting to think about. Really, the world is my oyster. I can decide to push this business in whichever dimension I want to take it. And yet, it is just I didn't realize how different a game it would be being my own boss and running my own business. How different that was going to be from just being an employee and working for somebody else. And it's just absolutely changed my entire perspective on work and what I'm doing with my life. And lastly, for this last year, I want to talk a little bit about how my emotional and spiritual health has changed. For my entire life, ever since I was a little kid, I feel like I've kind of struggled to find my place in the world. Like ever since I was young, I had things in school that I was good at. I had hobbies I liked. I had jobs where, I enjoyed the work and I was proficient in stuff. But there was never really a time in my life where things clicked and I was like, okay, this is why God put me on this earth. This is sort of the vocation that I'm meant to do. Also, as I've talked about in a couple of my previous videos, I'd had the dream of joining the military for the longest time. For about 10 years, that was sort of my dream goal. And then on my 28th birthday, about a year and a half ago, I had an honest conversation with myself where I just decided, I don't think that this is where the Lord is calling me. And I don't think that I was the right personality or had the right temperament to do that kind of work or live that kind of lifestyle. And looking back now, a year or so after I broke away from the corporate grind to start my own business, I realized that having my dreams crushed was the best thing that could have ever happened to me in my life. And I'm so happy to be in a position now where I can look back and realize that that's the case. I'd say at 29 years old, I think I'm the happiest that I've ever been in my life. And I've had enough life experience now where I can look back at all the jobs I've had, all the experiences I've had, the heartbreaks, the failures, the adventures that I've gone on, and realize how important it was to go through that process to get to where I am today. Additionally, I realized how I needed to go through those processes to be ready mentally, emotionally, maturity-wise for what I'm doing right now. Like, I don't think I would have been in the same place. I know I wouldn't have been in the same place if I had started doing voiceover, right out of college, or if I had decided to go into theater or performing in college and then decided to make a career out of this right away. I needed that life experience. I needed to work in these different jobs. I needed to, have the challenges that I did to get into the mindset that I'm in now to try and make a go of this thing. And looking back, I don't think I would have had it any other way. And yeah, it is such a freeing experience to be at a point where you can look back at all the crap that you've been through, all the things that went wrong, and realize how it was all meant to lead you to a better end. So I just want to say real quick, for anyone out there watching my video who's still kind of floundering, still trying to find yourself, still trying to, make sense of life, make sense of the world, I've been there. And this is all part of the process. Like someday you'll be exactly where you need to be, and you'll be able to look back on these times where you're struggling, where you're trying different things, and realize how all these trials was just part of your training to get to the point where you need to be right now. And how you couldn't have gotten to where you are now without those trials and without those experiences. And things will just sort of make more sense and fall into place. And so for anybody struggling at that point, my heart goes out to you. I hope you get there like I got to where I'm at, because I've been through the mire and I've been to the other side, and life's never been better for me. All right, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. This was a bit more of an emotional, serious video for me, but I appreciate you guys with all the support, all the folks who keep tuning in and checking out my videos. And as always, if you haven't yet, hit that like button, leave a comment below if you have any thoughts, and feel free to subscribe. I really appreciate it. It helps out the channel. It helps YouTube with the YouTube algorithm help out the channel, and just helps everything grow and helps me spread my stuff more. All right, guys, until next week, take care and God bless.